and welcome back to part 6 of Final Fantasy 15. Today we're going to go to where Kor's called us to try and deal with the Magitech troops over by the border, so we can finally access the next region of the map. Yeah, well, I know the upload schedule's all over the place as per, but hopefully we can start to get a bit of a move on now, because I know DMC2 is starting to come to a close now in editing and reach the end of that. The next project I want to do, like to keep up with after that, is kind of small, so I should be able to dedicate more time to this, and my time to play it is opening up a lot more as well, so I can play bigger titles like this and get more done. But anyway, right now as you can see, I'm swerving this big thing over here because they're like level 20 something, one of those, and we're not level 20 something, so I'd rather not bother with the encounter as something caught the attention of myself on the map. As per, the whole of Final Fantasy 15 is post-recorded, so I am kind of just working off what past me did. But unlike usual, where it's like 2 weeks after I recorded it I finally come back for the audio, this was only the other day I got this all recorded and sorted out, so it's still relatively fresh on my mind what I did, and hopefully it will mean I'll know what's going on and know when I make a mistake and whatnot a bit better. But as you can see in the bottom right, as a loud car passes, hopefully the mic didn't pick that up, in the bottom right next to Prompto's health bar there's a little symbol. That's because the food that we cooked at the end of last part, or last night, is something that he loves, and if you cook something that someone loves, they will get an additional bonus. The main one being is that I don't know if it's more often or always, but when you use their special L1 ability, their technique, it will be a crit. I don't know if it's just significantly more often or always, but they will start getting a lot more crits than normal. And some skills that usually don't get crits will now start getting crits as well. And the critical version is always great to have. They will show it, because it'll be a gold nameplate at the top like that. They'll say a different line and it'll do far more damage, and you can usually do a better follow-up. And what it wants us to do is this. This is a cross chain. This was introduced in the later updates. Some enemies, when knocked down, if you time the circle with a string like this, you can do a selection of attacks building up to a 10-hit combo where you do your finisher. Although not as powerful as they was back in Episode to Sky, the alpha version of this game, it's still pretty powerful and quite broken in my opinion. The amount of damage you can get out of that thing if you can knock an enemy down and the game gives you the prompt for it is a bit ridiculous. But it's kind of why it wasn't there at launch. At least I think it's why it wasn't there at launch, even though it was in the alpha build. It's just because it was way too overpowered and they needed to find a way to make it work balance-wise before they did it. Oh, and I got the critical version of Tempest as well, so Gladio will do a third strike instead of the normal 2, which I can follow up for a slam over the top like that. Oh, didn't mean to bring up the map. I was trying to do a hard lock, I think. Because to do a hard lock in this game, you press in R3 whilst you're locked on, and then you can let go of the lock on and the hard lock will stay in place. Something that was in Episode to Sky, but even though it's in this, a lot of people don't know about it, because unlike Episode to Sky, this doesn't tell you about it. Episode to Sky makes a whole thing about, oh, you could do a hard lock on if you press in R3. I think it was 2.0 of Episode to Sky that added it, among other things. But then 2.0 Episode to Sky also had the ability to cancel almost everything into everything else, making it really fluid and just kind of mad and overpowered. But when you head over here, Monica will be waiting for you, and this will initiate the final piece of Chapter 2. Here you'll have your final difficulty moment. You'll have your boss, and then afterwards you'll have access to Chapter 3 and the main chunk of the open world, because the second region, just like GTA 3, is the biggest.
We'll do the same on our end.
Which I always thought was kind of weird that some games did that. Like I said GTA 3 because that's the first one that came to mind, but Grand Theft Auto 3, if you remember back to that Let's Play, the second area you went to was the biggest island of the lot. Like the third one wasn't as big and the first one wasn't as big, which I always thought was kind of weird, but in Final Fantasy 15 it does it as well. When we get access to the Episode to Sky, that's when this Let's Play is going to start getting a bit more interesting on my end. I don't know about you guys, because I don't know if you ever find this entertaining. If you do, I appreciate it, but on my end it's going to be more interesting, because a hell of a lot's going to open up, and there's no way in hell I'm going to go straight to Lestalem where the next objective will be. Spoilers. I'm not going to immediately advance the plot when we get into chapter 3. I'm going to want to show off as much as I can of the open world now I've got the chance, because it properly opens up when we get into chapter 3. Even though this is called chapter 2, this piece here is probably the ending of what I'd consider the prologue of the entire opening adventure. But we've got this declaration of war. Eliminate all the Imperial forces. Yes, you do actually have to kill every single one along the way, because the objective at the end won't activate until they're all dead. But you do have Core with you, so don't expect much of a threat. Core is a very powerful fighter and warrior and will slay pretty much everything you can't. And as you can tell on the bottom right, he's like a hell of a lot higher level than us if he's got over 3 times our health. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's Core just being kind of blatant in saying you've got me for here, but then after this point you probably won't have me again, except for the Royal Edition, of course. But that's for much later on. We're still in chapter 2, for goodness sake. Let's not talk about chapter 14 and what goes on in there for the Royal Edition stuff. But in saying that, in 6 parts, I'm surprised we've made it all the way to the final piece of chapter 2 in just 6 parts. I would have thought, I just had it in my head that this would be an extremely painfully long Let's Play. It still could be, with all the stuff post-game that I want to show off, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Because we've still got all the chapters, because there's 14 chapters, and then you got chapter 15 is just all the post-game stuff. But then we've got all the episodes, which I'm going to be incorporating into the Let's Play as best I can. The only exception being episode Ignis. I've had to kind of rework and try and figure out how I'm going to do it, because episode Ignis does spoil the end of the game in it. So I have to be careful how I handle that when I get to it. Comrades, I'll see if I can get Reese on board if he's up for it, if he's watching this. And we'll do something with Comrades just to show off some of the stuff in that. Like show off a couple missions, and then we'll finish it off by doing the departure mission that was added with the Royal Edition that has you playing as Noct and the gang in the Comrades, which is really cool to actually play as the gang and online. It makes me kind of wish that on the actual main game you could do co-op, even if it was just offline co-op, because it's like the funnest thing of Comrades, I felt. Other than building your stats in online is so free and able to do it. I really enjoy it, but I'll save my thoughts somewhat for Comrades when we get to it, because that's still a long way off. And of course the extra stuff that we're getting come the end of this year and going into 2019 that we know now is confirmed, that I'm not going to bother trying to incorporate into the main plot and story and whatnot. That I'm deliberately going to leave until post-game. But that's all of them. See, that wasn't too hard. Just follow your way through and we'll go over here to get our cutscene.
Noct!
Marshal, it's good to see you again.
All right on your end?
Right as rain. The Nifs couldn't take their eyes off us.
Thanks to you, we were spared their attention.
Stay right where you are! Well, well, if it isn't Core the Immortal. So, you survived the Citadel. But you won't survive what I have in store for you. It's past time your legend came to an end.
And this is our first proper boss fight in the game, Loqi in the MAX Cuirass. The Cuirass is level 22 with 46,200 health points. It has an attack stat of 2,240, defense of 307, and magic of 844, making it a very formidable physical attacker, but magic based, something you can exploit if you have it. I won't be, but there are other means of getting around it. It is neutral to everything but shields and machinery. If you have a shield based weapon or machine based weapon, you'll be doing 20% extra damage with it, as it is slightly weak to it. Additionally, if you somehow, which I don't think is possible, have any instant kills, it is immune to instant kills, which is kind of the given for boss fights. The strategy for it, I'd say, is more to wait for it to leave itself open. There's a lot of miners around that will be a pain in the backside if given the chance to, so try and keep it on top of them as well whilst you're at it. But you're kind of baiting out certain attacks, because it's on its right arm there is an electric, that weapon that it just did there, where it slammed into the ground. If you can bait it into doing that, it's a very easy parry that will eventually put it on the floor, leaving it wide open and vulnerable to dish out a lot of pain. Its hefty health bar might sound quite big, but it isn't something you can't handle at this point, trust me. Even if it's only chapter 2, that 46,200 will drop before you know it. This is the attack you're looking for. When he starts charging it up like this, linger around in front of its foot, and as soon as it goes to slam it down, hold down your parry and block, jump off it, get ready to hit the attack button again, and you will automatically throw fire at it, which will damage it immensely and will eventually lead to its toppling. I'm getting a little extra bonus out of getting the guys to join in, but it will eventually topple over itself. Loki's going to get quite pissed off, but it's just how it is. Because he has voice commands for set points in his health, but when he's vulnerable, that health drops so quickly, it sounds like he just won't shut up. But as you see, look how much health has gone off on me already. And we're getting the crit on Lion Roar. Don't be so dramatic, Core. Look, we're winning. Worth mentioning, any MA or MAX machine will detonate when dies, so move away the moment you kill it. Fun fact, Loki survived that. There was an event called the Assassin's Festival, and he was the main antagonist of that. So yeah, take that for what it is.
Impressive. Seeing you in action puts my mind at ease. It's clear I don't need to worry anymore. I'll return to watching the NIFs. Till next time, take care.
Ain't so bad out here once you get used to it.
Still a lot we haven't seen, though.
And a lot for us to do.
Yeah.
Buck up. We're just getting started.
And that's right there is the end of chapter 2. So it will do our finishing screen, we'll add up our experience, and I think everyone will level up to 14, but no higher. Oh, Prompto did take some pictures. Let's see what we got. Gladio at the campfire from last night. Yeah, sure, why not? I'll keep that. That looks kind of weird, but nah. Good combat photo. That I'll keep, 'cause that looks kind of cool. Oh, encounter with Loki. Alright, Core's showing off his best dancing moves. Yeah, sure, we'll keep that one. That's kind of goofy. And this one is the one you always get. That's another one of those ones that you just always get. It's your chapter 2 end screen. And it will save and it will load up to tell us that we are now in chapter 3. I'll keep the start of this load screen so you can read it if you want and pause it, but then I'll be skipping to the cutscene.
Eluna Freya has absconded with it.
Find and kill her. The ring is the final piece.
We may do well to take her alive. The Six wield power beyond our imagination. The Oracle holds the key for the king. She could unlock many secrets. Nay, High Commander. Lord Ravis, the Imperial Army is now at your disposal.
A moot point, while the fugitives remain at large. My men and I will continue our search for the Prince and the Oracle.
So glorious. My crystal.
I won't end the part just there because 14.5 minutes is not that long for a part on this, for how long I keep you guys waiting with this anyway. But so we'll go into Duskai, collect some side quests and do like a few minor things and then wrap it up and then dive headfirst into Duskai in its entirety next time. Duskai, we've moved from the desert of Lead to the wetlands of the sky. So it's a bit cooler, so you don't have to worry about the guys complaining about the heat all the time if that was starting to bug you, like it probably did. But we have got more forestry, we've got different enemies here. It's a different region, and so enjoy it for what it is. Explore to your heart's content, because this is the biggest region in the map. And in the middle of the map is a meteor that's referencing the 6 that the guys have been talking about. The 6 we'll get into more later, but as for now, you just know that it's a big ass meteor in the middle of the map. But we'll be parking right over here, and we'll also get a nice little thing from Ignis when we go to park. I'm waiting for him to say it, but I know he's not gonna say it as soon as I say it because fate has it. But there we go. Since we have a solid lay of the land, in Ignis's words, we can now drive the car ourselves if we so feel like it. Noctis can now drive the car whenever he wants, and there's the tutorial stuff. So when you go to jump, you can click manual instead of auto and take control yourself. I'll be showing it off bits and pieces next time, but I won't be showing off too much because, to be honest, it's not that fascinating. Oh, we got a phone call. Who's calling us? And then there's Iris. Iris is Gladio's little sister, who called Noct over her brother. But I guess Noct is the one who was announced dead on radio. Burden of expectation. Meet Iris in Lestalem. But we won't be doing that straight away, and we won't be doing it for a while. But trust me, it'll be worth it when we go over it. Iris is like one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion. She's such a lovable character. And Prompto's going to come up and say, why don't we go to the Chocobos instead of doing the plot? Which I say, yes, Prompto. See? What Prompto doesn't realize, when he says ages away, he means a hell of a long time away, because I'm not going there straight away. I said I'll be doing a significant amount, and I'm still undecided how I'm going to handle it. Like, I've got a general idea of how much I want covered before I go to the Lestalem, but not necessarily the exact path of everything I'm covering. Just there's a lot I want to cover. So I'm sure it'll be very interesting next part, wherever I decide to do. Actually, I don't have enough gil to buy a bunch of repair kits, so I always like to have one on me in case we bump into a broken car. It's like free experience. But we'll get the next stuff on the radio. Nothing interesting there. Yep, alright. I think that's Final Fantasy III tunes, which I didn't really like Final Fantasy III's soundtrack up until I played the PSP/DS version of the game. Because I just never got into it. I think it was like one of the weaker soundtracks in the series, but the PSP/DS version gives it new life and made me appreciate it a lot more. And not just the remake version, but made me appreciate the original 8-bit version a lot more, because some of those tracks are pretty good. Yeah, like, when mysterious shit is going on in a castle, the theme there is one of those themes that's good, but you just kind of end up getting tired and falling asleep to it, because it's just one of those kind of weird themes. It's nostalgic, but just in an odd way. But the rest of the soundtrack I enjoyed. The only problem I had with Final Fantasy III had nothing to do with the soundtrack, and that was the final dungeon going on way too long for a game that didn't have mid-dungeon checkpoints, because they didn't become a thing till FF4. But over here, you might recognise this person from part 1 very, very briefly that Gladio was talking to in the background, but there's a good chance you probably don't. But you can go over to her and start an interesting string of side quests with her. She's another person that has a long line, it isn't just a one-off.
And what do you need now?
Nothing.
You are saying you distracted me for nothing? This won't do. Won't do at all.
Such a weird individual, but her entire quest line is collecting rare animals, specifically frogs, for her to bring back.
That's the spirit.
The first few aren't too bad because they tell you the general area, so you go there and then just circle the block enough times to find it, but the last one's really, really annoying to do because it doesn't tell you where they are. They're just somewhere in the entirety of the sky. And keep in mind, the sky is the largest region. It takes forever unless you're following a walkthrough, and I might not do that side quest. So I'll do some of hers just to give you the idea of what they're like, but that last one I don't know if I'll do just because it's a pain in the ass. But now we've got a new thing. If you head over there to where it says on there, the Actar's Sloth, or whatever that is, I can't read it from here. The screen I'm working off from post-editing is really small, so I can't always read that shit clearly. But we've got that objective. It says it's still 2 minutes on recording, but I can't think of what else we do. Oh no, I do know what we do. We listen to the radio. And then we talk to this guy to get a general lay of the land, and then I think what I want to do next, mark it on the map, and then call it a part. See, yeah, I'm sure I promise I recorded this just the other day, and I do remember it all. I was just a bit slow at the end there.
You feeling all right?
Right. Alright, so there's camps relatively nearby. There's a parking spot there. That big chunk of all sorts on the far left, that's Lestalem. That's the big city we'll be going to later on. And you can see it is quite far away. Especially because what you can't see on the map really clearly, but there is a giant ravine in between that we can't just cross. You have to go around on the road. But here's the 3 opening hunts on this thing. We can't do the bottom one because we're not a high enough rank. I think you have to be rank 2 or 3 for it, but that's for later on. And yeah, that's everything for our first stopping point here. So next time on Final Fantasy 15, we'll start our exploration into the region of the sky, starting by going to the Chocobo Forest and getting ourselves a friendly Chocobo because they're awesome. But until then, you guys take care now.